All right, how y'all doing? This is Giovanni. Hope y'all doing well. So I'm seeing a lot of people saying that, Jesus lied on Torah or lied on YAH, and therefore he should be considered false or discredited. I see that a lot in the Hebrew Israelite circles. A lot of these people, and that's a pretty heavy accusation. But before we just accept it, let's slow down and see if that's really the case, right? So we're going to walk through Deuteronomy 24, verse 1 to 4, word for word, using just plain logic without outside opinions, and see how Jesus and Paul's words actually fit perfectly with what Torah says rather than contradict it, right? So Deuteronomy 24, verse 1 to 4, I'm going to read it from the King James. So, when a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife, after that she is defiled. For that is an abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God give it thee for an inheritance. So that is from the King James Version. So that is the law of the Most High Yah, right? Okay, so what Deuteronomy 24 verse 1 to 4 actually says, Deuteronomy 24 is not a license for casual divorce or remarriage. It's a legal regulation for a specific case. Here's the internal sequence. 1. Husband A divorced the woman. 2. She becomes another man's wife. Husband B. 3. That second marriage ends either in divorce or death. 4. The result is the first husband may not take her back after she has been defiled. So the defilement here is presented as a status that already exists before the return is attempted. It's the reason the reunion is forbidden. In the text own structure, defilement is linked to becoming another man's wife, not to the act of returning. See, because there's a logical fallacy in popular misreading. Some claim she's not defiled by marrying the second man. She's only defiled if she returns to the first husband. Why that fails? Because it reverses cause and effect. The statute says she can't return because she's been defiled, not that the return is what defiles her. Then it's begging the question. It assumes the return is the cause, then uses that assumption to explain the prohibition. It contradicts in the timing. The defilement is already in place before the return scenario exists. So the plain reading is second marriage, defiled status relative to husband A, therefore no return to husband A. Paul, he aligned with this principle. In 1 Corinthians 7, verse 10 and 11, it says, a wife must not separate from her husband, but if she does, she must remain unmarried or else be reconciled to her husband. Paul is essentially applying the Deuteronomy 24 logic in kingdom's terms. If a woman departs from her husband, she should remain celibate. The only alternative is reconciliation to her husband. Why? To avoid the defilement status that Deuteronomy 24 describes when she becomes another man's wife. Jesus and Paul, they do not make Yahweh a liar. Jesus' word in Matthew 5 verse 32 and chapter 19 verse 9, that remarriage while the first spouse lives is adultery, and that divorce is only permitted for sexual immorality. They are not rejection of Torah. They are the perfect fulfillment of it. Torah exposes the civil consequence of defilement, no return to the first husband. Jesus exposes the moral and spiritual root. Remarriage while bound is adultery. And Paul reinforces the preventative safeguard, remain unmarried or reconcile. So they actually close the loopholes created by those who use Deuteronomy 24 as if it were a blank check for divorce and remarriage. The spiritual indictment is those who reject Jesus and Paul's words in this matter, claiming to honor the law while discarding the spirit and intent behind it, stand in the same position as the Pharisees, exalting the letter while missing the heart, using human interpretation to create permissions Yahweh never gave, and accusing the Son and his apostles of contradicting Moses, when in reality they reveal Moses as law in its fullest truth. So the unavoidable conclusion is that Deuteronomy 24's defilement is caused by becoming another man's wife. Jesus calls that moral reality what it is, adultery. Paul instructs how to avoid it, remain celibate or reconcile. Rejecting this is rejecting the spirit of the law, just as the Pharisees did. Torah gave the warning, Jesus named the sin, Paul gave the safeguard. Ignoring any of them, and you're no different than the Pharisees who honored the scroll but missed the author. Hope that was a blessing to y'all. Wishing y'all a great day. Shalom, shalom.